what every empath and people pleaser needs to hear for them to heal completely and actually put themselves in the center and start living their most authentic life. My friend, if you have been an empath or if you found yourself to always please others and like always compromise your own values for others, and then you're basically the least important person in your life, everybody else is more important to you, everybody else happiness, well-being is more important than your own. Here is the message that you need to hear and you need to integrate within yourself to finally step into your power and heal. You, my friends, you are the person who you want to heal. You are the person who you want to please. You're important. You're the person for whom you want to compromise. You are the person who is worth it to be saved. And in fact, what you might have been doing all your life, and I have been like that for many years, I have I have always assumed, I have always hoped that if I were able to always please other people's interests around me, to others, to always meet their expectations, to always do what is required of me to do, like what they want me to do, then eventually I will be able to save everybody. And if I save everybody, I will deserve to be loved by them. So what happens is most of the time, like most of us who are more empathetic, who have the intention to please others, to always care for others, to always save them, to help them, what happens is that in our childhood experiences, we didn't receive love unconditionally. And so we only received love from our parents, from our caretakers, if we were willing to do the right thing, if we were the good boys and the good girls, right? So what we did was that what we accepted to be true is that if I'm able to please other feelings, if I'm able to always be there for them, if I'm able to sacrifice myself for others' well-being, for my parents' well-being, only then I deserve to be loved. Only then I feel secure within myself that I could be loved. So in this way, your empathy, your people-pleasing like behavior, it is a defense mechanism. It is defending you from people not loving you and rejecting you. Because if other people reject you, then you wouldn't be loved. And this inner child within you, it doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel validated. It doesn't feel appreciated. So, my friend, what happens with your empathy, what happens with your people pleasing behavior is that unless you understand and accept the fact that you need to be the one whom you save first, you wouldn't be able to save anybody else and you wouldn't be able to have any kind of healthy relationship with them because you always self-sacrifice yourself for others' well-being, for you to ensure the fact that you feel safe. So in a way, you're abandoning yourself for others with the hope that if you abandon yourself enough and if you're able to meet other expectations enough, please them enough, compromise your own values for them enough, if you do enough of the things required from you, enough of what they expect from you, then eventually they will accept you and they will love you, and then finally you will feel safe. This is what happens. This is the bias, the flawed belief. So unless you accept the fact that you're the one to be saved first, and so now here is how that works. Listen to me very closely. If for a moment you don't take yourself as seriously, like you don't assume that you need to always sacrifice yourself so that others feel good, and for a moment accept yourself as and give yourself as much importance and as much inner worth as you give importance and like value to others, and then you look at yourself from the space of unconditioned awareness of your being, unconditioned presence awareness, then your body and your mind, it is the person who you are willing to save on the outside and to whom you're willing to sacrifice everything, but this now becomes you. So instead of looking at yourself from your identity, which might be hurt, which might feel abandoned, which might feel that they need to compromise like all their values so that others accept it. Instead of looking at yourself from your own identity, for a moment, go deeper, go deeper in your mind. Ask yourself, who am I? How do I know that I am? How do I know that I exist? What is this state that never changes? The state of unconditioned awareness of being. I am always here. And so, from that state, you are the person who is the first one to be saved, who is the first one to be pleased, who is the first one to whom you would sacrifice everything you needed to sacrifice to make yourself feel good. Your body and your mind is the first person you want to empathize to, you want to please. Does it make sense? So this is basically the one realization every empath and every people pleaser needs to understand and needs to get home with them, needs to integrate fully, accept, surrender to it fully, so that they can experience what they want in their life, like the relationships they want, the healthy, mutually beneficial, supportive, uplifting relationships they want. Unless you accept yourself as the person you're trying to please, then my friend, you've already failed. Because you always try to sabotage, you always like forget yourself, you always abandon yourself for others, and then you'll never feel fulfilled. And you always find yourself in like dependent, in toxic relationships. You always find yourself attracting narcissists who use you, who don't care about your needs. You wouldn't feel hurt, you wouldn't feel validated, you feel as if nobody cares for you, as if you are not important. All of this will continuously recycle. These wounds will continuously recycle unless and until you accept yourself as being as important as you make other people to be. So this is like, once I realized this truth and I started caring for myself, I started meditating, I started journaling. Well, what happened is that eventually I connected to my boundaries. And by the way, if you need help with boundaries, down in the description you can find a 3-question healthy boundaries framework, which will help you. Like these are 3 really deep questions that you can ask yourself from the state of unconditioned presence awareness of being, so that you can connect with your boundaries and then communicate them clearly. But so once I started taking care of myself through meditation, through journaling, through investigating my feelings, staying with them, empathizing to myself first, instead of always sacrificing myself for others, then I connected to my boundaries. I started communicating them. Some people left my life, some toxic relationships left my life, and then I started attracting people who are part of my high vibe tribe, who support me, who lift me up, who think of like my greatest benefit, who are there to support me. And now it's not that I am always giving and not receiving. No, like the giving and receiving, it's like it's always in the same quantity. So I'm giving as much as I'm receiving, and I'm receiving as much as I'm giving. Well, not 50-50% always. Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 40-60, but it's much closer to the middle than it is how it was before, when I was like giving 80% of myself and like receiving 20% and always sacrificing myself for others. So this is like, unless you get that understanding and you get it home with you, make it yours, you won't heal, my friend. So you won't heal unless you accept yourself as worthy, as important, and as being as valid as you make others to be. So because this is how people pleasing, this is how empathy works. Like, we think that if we are able to save enough people on the outside and help enough people on the outside, then eventually we'll prove to ourselves that we are worthy. And once we are worthy, then we can start caring for ourselves. So we need to help others to prove to ourselves that we are good people. And when we become good people, then we can deserve the love, the affection, the interest, the support, whatever we want from others. But before we help enough people on the outside, we won't accept that we deserve this on the inside, unless you see yourself from a third-person perspective, from the state of unconditioned presence awareness of being, and from that state, affirm to yourself, this body-mind is the first body-mind that needs to be saved, that needs to be pleased, that needs to be cared for, that needs to be listened to, that needs to be like care, that needs to be um spend time with, that needs to be that like I need to compromise myself to care for this body mind first. Does it make sense? So put yourself, make yourself, assume yourself as if you're somebody on the outside that you're trying to help. And when you do that, then you've taken the test. Then you have passed the challenge. Then you can heal. Only then you can heal. And so let me share with you now a story. Like, this is a story of a client I worked with. I think it was like it's already a year ago or something. But she was this woman that she was always caring for her husband, for her children. She was always like doing all the household things that she needed to do, like laundry, things like that. But her needs were never met, and her husband was never listening to her. And so she felt almost as if she was sacrificing herself to maintain that relationship. And it started feeling really resistant on the inside. She felt as if she's the only one investing in that relationship, even though they were already together with her husband for like 10 years or something. Eventually, she realized that, okay, it's my responsibility to make my husband hear me out and like to care for me and to listen to my needs. And so um when we worked together, she realized that she had some limiting beliefs that were conflicting with her real interest. And so she found within herself that she was afraid to be heard. She was afraid to be heard. She was afraid to be listened to. She was afraid that she didn't deserve to be listened to. She was afraid that nobody would understand her. And then eventually she started combining, like structuring all those belief systems in an identity that then she realized she inherited from her mother. And funnily enough, like paradoxically, it's not a paradox, but funnily enough, like she realized that her mother was the same. And so she then went to her mother and communicated with her mother the boundaries that we put together. And like those boundaries were almost like an ultimatum. Like she stated to her husband and to all other people in her life who were close, like her mother, that I have I need to be listened to. I need to be heard. I need to be understood. These are my needs. And if you're not willing to validate my needs, then I'm sorry, but I cannot do anything for you anymore. It's like it's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for my well-being. So, and she told her that to her husband. She told him that, well, if you're not willing to listen to me, if you're not willing to accept and validate my needs, it's over. It's over. Like you can, I will take the children. You can do and find somebody else to be with. And it's like I just cannot live with you unless you start hearing me, unless you start listening to me. And so this way she connected to her boundaries and to her needs, and she communicated them transparently. And by doing so, she also healed her relationship with her mother. Like they had a lot of conflicts, and it was interesting because the parents of her husband, they were trying to control the relationship they had. And so it was almost like the parents of her husband were trying um to to tell him what is right for their relationship. And this was something that she didn't tolerate because she was in a relationship with her husband, not with his parents, right? So she also communicated those boundaries. She set boundaries in place. And then they had this really transparent, really honest conversation with like she had it first with her husband, then with her mother, then she had it with the parents of her husband. And eventually by doing that, she connected to her needs and to her boundaries. And then her husband needed to do the required changes from within himself to not lose her. And then finally she stopped pleasing others and she stopped compromising herself to like just to save others. And so that's how she was able to save herself and save her marriage. Because like when we first met, before we started working together, her marriage was almost at the edge of falling apart. And so once he connected to her boundaries, healed her relationship with her parents, and like set up those boundaries and communicated her needs clearly with her husband, with her mother, and with the parents of her husband, like the whole relationship transformed. Then her husband started hearing her out, started listening to her. They started having these deep conversations. Like intimacy started sparking once again. Their sexual life like got better. And then eventually, a couple of months later, because she was not from the same city, then eventually she came to my city and we met. Like I met with her and her husband and her children, and they were like in such a beautiful relationship. And first, when I got in contact with that client, she was telling me like, I'm thinking of just of just what was this word in English, um, of asking for a divorce. I can't handle this anymore. So 3 to 4 months later, by doing this inner work and connecting to her boundaries, she saved her marriage. And now she's living happily with her husband. She also found a new job that is supporting her passions so much, mm, so much more. And so this, my friend, is what happens. This is the work. If you're an empath, if you're a people pleaser, it is of the greatest importance. It is inevitable that eventually you will have that realization. And this realization, again, I'll repeat it once again to end this video. This realization, and I'll repeat it with me. If you want, like, you can comment it down below to affirm it. I am the most important person that I need to please, that I need to save, that I need to take care for, that I need to be there for. I, myself, like this body, this mind is the first person that I need to have empathy for, that I need to please. This one. This is the realization, my friend. And so if you want to claim that, affirm it in the comments to let me know that you have got that message. This was everything I wanted to share with you. And now just one quick invitation. If you are tired of like codependent relationships, toxicity, manipulation, all these disgusting like behavioral cycles, like wounded cycles and patterns that you experience in your relationships, and if you fully want to transform that within the next 3 to 4 months, I want to invite you to this training that I have. It's called the 3 phases you need to master to surround yourself only by conscious, uplifting, and meaningful relationship. You can find it in the description below. It's like a 2-hour long on-demand training. And once you go through it, you understand what are these 3 phases that you need to pass through. This is a process that I've discovered by working with more than 50 people individually, and all of them were going through these 3 phases. So it's something that is generally applicable for everybody who is on the self-awareness journey. So if you're just embarking on that journey, check out the training, my friend. I'm sure you'll find it really valuable, really useful. And also, if you are new to the channel, like this video, comment down below, let me know what's your opinion. Did you get the message? Affirm what I suggested. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to it. Click the bell notifications to receive notifications for every new video, because my intention for this channel is that it helps you surround yourself only by conscious, uplifting, and meaningful relationships. Because, my friend, I've been there like 6 years ago. I've been surrounded by the most destructive, toxic, codependent relationships, by people wearing masks, people who are not willing to be honest, to be transparent. They were manipulating, they were doing everything for status, like to be validated by others. They were willing to be offensive to others, like psychologically offensive to others, to maintain their status. And by going through these 3 phases, what I live right now, like what is the people I'm surrounded with, are like the most beautiful relationships. There is transparency, like we share transparency, mutual respect and understanding, honesty as values that are like the ground of our relationships. And this is the people with whom I'm surrounded with now. And this is like what this training, these 3 phases, get you to. So if this is something important, definitely, my friend, check it out. Now, that being the case, Wesley, thank you so much for watching. Hope you got value out of this video. If this is true, subscribe to the channel. I would love to see you around. And I love you, my friend. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.